two things come to mind. First, it's not about what you say, it's about how and when you say it. So my observation over a bazillion years in this profession is sometimes what happens is nurses become so frustrated that they pop off. And it doesn't matter whether it's the staff nurse or the CNO or the nurse manager or whomever. So sometimes it is courses like this one, where one learns to be assertive, learns to package the information to the right audience. Because no matter how good you are in managing your staff on a unit, if you can't change how you package the information, you're not going to be effective with a different audience. Like I say, working with people who do finance for a living. They don't speak our language. They don't understand our nuances. They don't understand how we relate to patients. So translating is important. First, being a good servant leader. First, stopping to check, am I in a space right now where I can say something that may be difficult, may be sensitive? Am I going to convey the message the way it needs to be transmitted, and how I do that? But to tell you the truth, I think that we need to understand ourselves as a culture. So think of it. There are 10 times as many nurses in the country as there are physicians. If we ever stood up with one voice as a profession, we could have swayed any presidential election. In my system, could you imagine if tomorrow the 17,000 nurses all said the same thing? All said the same thing? Can you imagine? Said it respectfully, said it with dignity, but said it with conviction on behalf of their patients. I don't care what it is. So sometimes I think we don't use the collective voices we have, but I also think that if you look at the very stereotypic personality profile of someone who chooses nursing, historically I don't think they have been the most assertive individual. And I think at times we have survived through by being quiet and being not as, I wouldn't say passive, but not as assertive as we might need to be in making life better for our patients and for our colleagues. And I think that comes from, when you have that orientation, you also will avoid conflict. And nothing is more clear to me than all of healthcare is inherently fraught with conflict. Conflict is not a bad thing. Conflict is when you bump up against something that's not right, and you need to fix it, and not everyone's going to be happy with you. So one of the things I have to say to myself every day when I drive here to work is, if I'm not offending somebody today, I'm not doing my job. And sometimes I get it in an email or someone taking my room and telling me I'm dead wrong, and sometimes it's somebody's just frustrated with me for the decisions I've had to make. But if everybody was happy with me, then I am not effective. And I think sometimes we as all nurses, as advocate first, need to understand there's no way that any human being can keep everybody happy. We can make life better, but we can't keep everybody happy. It is our job sometimes to embrace conflict and communicate and manage and understand through it. But again, it starts with the servant leadership. How am I today? If I'm so angry because of conflict I have to deal with that is personally offensive to me, I'm not going to be very good at managing it on behalf of my peers and my patients. So some of it is self-awareness first. Again, if I came to work totally disconnected with the people I work with day in, day out, as I told the rank and file out there, whatever you do, make sure you're connected with your team, I'm not effective. So I have to make sure that I first am being who I say I am, in how I manage conflict, in how we communicate and understand one another, and how we make teams work, because we have all found a way to negotiate through our inherent conflict. I mean, you gotta be kidding me if you ever could imagine a therapist, a pharmacist, a physician, a nurse, a chaplain, and whomever else agreeing. They're not gonna. They're just not gonna. Thankfully, we have simulation and ways to learn how to do that, but you work in a team on behalf of your patient and you're the leader. If you're the nurse leader, you better understand, how do I work through conflict that lives in this team that exists to serve the patient I must first advocate for?